UFC 306, 2 titles on the line, and we have a very clear fork in the road right here, folks. What are we doing? Are we paving the new path? Are we going with the new generation? The Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley, Alexa Grasso, or is the old guard trying to get the belt back, or I should say just that claim to status? Merab, he's been in the division forever at 135, 10 wins in a row. Can he get the dub? And of course, the Bullet, Valentina Shevchenko. Her resume speaks for itself. Folks, that's what we're here to break down here today. My name is Derick G. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast, and breaking it down with me, as always, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, my co-host AJ. This is historic moments right here, the Sphere. Listen, I'm stationed here in Las Vegas, brother, so I'm ready, but I'm priced out. This ain't for the locals, this is for the 1% here, AJ. Good news is we get a fantastic seat right home on the couch, and if you play your cards right, you might not have to pay a historic price. We just saying that. How are you feeling, brother? You ready for some fights this week?
I'm feeling good, Derek. I am happy to be here, man. This is a huge card. Dana White said himself, once in a lifetime event, and all here to make you some money, folks. I'm very excited to be right here in this seat. It's going to be a very fun weekend.
Now, here's the complexity of this card, right? It's a short card, 10 fights, man. For a pay-per-view, only 10 fights means that there's limited plays, and there's a lot of big-time fighters on here. Of course, a lot of Mexican guard, a lot of the new up-and-comers that they're trying to really show up and show out, but our job is to create value and to find the best plays possible, and that's what we're here to break down. But before we do that, folks, you know we have to jump into a quick bet recap. Last weekend, UFC Vegas 97. AJ, I finally got one for us. This is for the Bloody Water Podcast, but we hit the 5-0, the coveted money line 5-0 right there. But that's really, that's not what speaks for itself, man. Because if I'm looking at the right side of this screen right here, I'm seeing 2 big hits, man. Parlays, the Bloody Water Podcast parlays. I'm really happy about this. Brady, Sean Brady, and Natalia Silva money line plus 104. Looking back on it, that was just free cash right there. AJ. Steve Garcia moneyline versus Petrosky versus Budka over 2.5 plus 142. I'm just going to give a couple of air horns right here, brother, because this is the Bloody Water Podcast consensus, man, but you were the brains behind it, so I got to give you a little bit of love. What were you thinking overall on the event, man? This is a quick breakdown for the people. Where did we hit? Where did we go wrong?
Man, Derek, it was a very interesting night, and I'm not mad about losing those 2 that you see up there in red, folks. The Burns and the Peak. Yeah, sure, Peak might have had a disappointing performance. Burns may have looked a little old, a little slow, but this is one of those, like Derek said, this is good for the Bloody Water Podcast right here. Not only Derek hitting 5-0 on there, but you can also see I got a prop lock that's also making you folks money. So the whole card, I take it as a win. Yeah, I'm down 2 fights right there, but it's all good, folks. We're back again, still making cash.
That's it. We don't think backwards, we think forwards, because revisionist history does nothing. But AJ, really quickly, let me just go ahead and talk to the people about my prop lock that I bricked on. Steve Garcia, Kyle Nelson over 1.5 rounds plus 145. I really thought that would have cashed right there if Kyle Nelson would have put up a little bit more of a fight. Now you might be asking, well, Steve Garcia is mean. That's what he does. And I agree. But if you did watch that one, you did see there was an elbow to the back of the head, which, folks, I don't know if you've ever been hit in your noggin before, but it don't feel good, especially to the back of the head, especially with one of the largest knuckles on your body, the elbow. So listen, man, this was a fantastic recap. 3-0 for the consensus picks, hits on the parlays. We love it. Bloody Water Podcast, baby. You know what time it is. But AJ, like I said, looking forward, brother. We looking forward, not backwards, man. So let's not mince any words. If you haven't subscribed yet, not sure what you're doing, subscribe, smash the button. You know what time it is. Cue the music. We're on to UFC 306 Noche UFC. And of course, before we break down the big board, consensus picks. We got a lot on the line. There's a lot of chalk here. 4 consensus picks, 1 deferring 1. What's our theme, brother?
The theme this week, Derek, is new life, right? New blood in the UFC, some reinvigoration, right? A lot of these fighters, even though some of the names are known by the hardcore fans, on that night, a lot of these people are going to be put on notice by the rest of everybody else. It's going to be a game changer. That's this week.
All right, fair play. I love to see it. Alexa Grasso, Diego Lopes, Daniel Zellhuber, and Ronaldo Rodriguez. It's going to be some fun ones. But we have 1 dissenting pick right here. And folks, just kind of let the cat out the bag. We had the same picks right here, but I'm going to take a flyer on Merab Dvalishvili. So to preface everything, O'Malley, probably the play, but there's a lot of value, and we're going to break down why I had to go with that flip right there. But prop locks. AJ, let's start with yours. You got an interesting one here on the board. It's chalk, but talk us through it.
Hadagui by points right here, right? She's fighting Ketlin Souza. It's going to be an interesting one. I do think both fighters are kind of that fire match, so we're going to end up with a little bit longer of a drawn-out match. I also think that's why she's going to be able to control the positions and get those points. See that minus 170, the odds makers also agree.
That's a good way to get a really, really chalky fighter at a fair price, at a decent price, minus 170. I like a fight right here in my prop lock, Norma Dumont by points. We know that is no stranger to Norma Dumont, but plus 120, I just thought that this was crazy value right here. I think Norma Dumont wins the fight just in general at dog odds. When we found it, right now it's currently a pick'em, but points by Dumont plus 120 against Irene Aldana. Take that all day long. AJ, let's run through a couple of these parlays, man. What's up with that Lopes parlay? Talk to me.
Lopes money line, man. I really like Diego Lopes in this. We've seen it. We're talking about the new guard right here. Diego Lopes is that quintessential fighter. Combo that with the Richie Lang and Rojas going over 1.5 rounds. We've seen Rojas have some struggles with some people in the UFC, right? Some veterans in there. But Richie Lang, I think, is going to provide that same amount of struggle, and that's what's going to get him over that 1.5 mark. Combo them together at plus 203 all day long.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. I got more of a simple one right here. I guess we should say our other parlay is another simple one. But Josh Van, Dan Zellhuber, listen, man, they're both favorites. Get them at plus 103 odds in general right here. Zellhuber is going to have a very similar fight that he had against Francisco Prato in his last one. Box him up, stay at distance. Josh Van looking to get back in that dub column right here and getting it done against Edgar Chairez. I don't think that it's going to be the toughest task in the world. So, folks, lots of value right here. That's the big board. If you want some bonus plays and you want to know what's next, the context behind everything, keep watching. You already know what time it is. But if you got your fix, tell a friend to tell a friend, because you know what time it is. All right, AJ, no more mincing words. Let's jump into this main card. Let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, folks, you are new to this section of the program. Let me give you a quick rundown. It's very simple. We're going to start with the main event all the way down to the first bout of the main card. So we're going to have some bonus plays for you. We're going to get into the nitty gritty. And again, if you haven't subscribed right now, not sure what exactly you're doing, but AJ, I'm going to bring you back on the screen and let's talk about it, brother. The Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley versus the frenemy right here, I should say. This is Merab, right? This ain't Aljo. You knocked out your best friend a couple fights ago, but you got Merab right here. The dark horse of the division, the guy that hasn't had the opportunity really that he earned many moons ago, man. This is like a 10-fight win streak right here, and a lot of people are taking the narrative of this fight and really running with it, man. So before we jump into that storyline that the UFC does a fantastic job of curating, let's talk about that open, man. Were you surprised to see Sean O'Malley plus 110 underdog at open?
Absolutely shocked, Derek. Absolutely shocked, man. When I don't think there's ever been a time since Sugar Show actually, proclaimed that this is now the Sugar Show back in Dana White's Contender Series. He hasn't been a favorite right then. I mean, we might need some stat checking on that, but at least in the eyes over here, man, Sean O'Malley has been that quintessential favorite performer. The money, the cash cow that the UFC has been putting in, and to see the odds makers, man, going in at minus 140, right? It's absolutely, it was shocking to me because there's a lot of push right there. I just didn't realize there's a lot of push for Merab on the other side.
If I'm not mistaken, and yeah, someone fact check us, please, but I do think that O'Malley opened up as a dog against Aljo as well, man. It's just styles, honestly, right? People are saying, hey, you got a grappler right here. If he could hold you down, he takes away the knockout power, and we have that all over again. Now, there's a couple of problems coming into this. Let's kind of preface Merab with the cut, right? Cut himself a couple weeks out of camp. O'Malley says, you're an idiot. Why would you post that on social media along with Dana White and everybody else? Because I'm going to open that cut up, man. I don't care if it's closed, open, healed, halfway, it don't matter. But you got Merab. This dude dives into ice lakes, cut up face the whole nine, continues to train hard, man. This is going to be a fight of will and determination and grit and toughness versus marksmanship, in my opinion, right here. But the question that I have for you is, AJ, with the line flip that we have right here, because like I said, this was opening odds. If we're looking at the live odds right now, minus 135 for the Sugar Show, plus 115 for Merab Dvalishvili. Do you see a renewed sense of value in the Merab camp, man? Let's just be frank here. Favorites, biases aside, you have a grappler who is able to really control the fight without doing it in a super boring way. He doesn't just hug you. He'll constantly go ground and pound, punches and bunches, little rabbit stuff right here. Plus 115, man. It's not a terrible line to lay on Merab Dvalishvili. What do you think?
No, it's not a terrible line at all, Derek. There's absolute value right there, especially if Merab's able to put his game plan into effect, right? Nullify that range, get in on the inside, control Sean, like you said, stay busy, so that way he's not able to gather that space again and then light you up, right? You were saying it. This is going to be a fight of determination versus a sniper, right? A fight of grit in the side of Merab. All that grit goes out the window if you take a nap. But if you're able to close that distance, really, really put the pressure on Sugar Show, we've seen him struggle to be able to get off the fence, right? Stop the takedown, stuff the takedown, and circle out. Sean's a lot better at just not getting grabbed, right? Merab's really good at getting to the position where he can grab you. So there's a lot of value right there because we have seen the wrestling acumen of a Merab stifle really good strikers before. It's just, can he close that massive distance that's there?
That's going to be the game plan, man. 5 rounds. And if we're looking at the over on this one, man, it's 4.5 rounds. And I believe that the favorite on it is over 4.5 right here. So who does that play in favor for? A lot of people are saying automatically, yeah, it's got to be Merab. The longer the fight goes, better. It almost feels like we're talking about the Aljo fight, just like all over again, right? Like the same exact fight right here. But the difference that I see here is you got Merab talking about, listen, this is an MMA fight, man. I'm going to go and try to knock this dude out, whatever the case may be. There's a reach disadvantage, 72 inches in favor of O'Malley, 68 for Merab. But I'm more curious about Sean setting up his striking. He does a lot of his setups with kicks, right? And the more kicks you throw, the more that Merab will be able to potentially catch, or who knows, maybe you just dust them very early. But Merab's also not the most, how would you say, sturdy. What is it? He's, the chin isn't granite, you know what I mean? He's been touched. He got touched by Marlon Moraes, right? If Sean hits you the right way with that right hand, it might be all over right here. But if he doesn't, AJ, let's talk about the jiu-jitsu. We're in make-believe land like we constantly always are. But were you impressed with O'Malley's takedown defense in that fight against Aljo before the knockout?
Before the knockout, Derick, yeah, I mean, especially for what you think of as just a straight striker, right, in Sean O'Malley. That's all we've seen the highlights of. But being able to do some of the stuff that he did against Aljo and have Aljo guessing, I think that's what more impressed me most, right? Being able to see him stuff the takedowns, get off the fence. I was saying before, he doesn't do the best job of it, but we've seen him grow in those fights, and I think that's going to be the same thing going into the Merab fight. Just a little harder because you're going to have some dude who's going at you literally 100% for all 25 minutes.
All right, man. So let's talk numbers right here, right? Because it's going to be a competitive fight. You'd be very, very wrong one way or another just to say that this is going to be an outright domination of a fight, because I don't think that's what it's going to be. I think it will be a little bit closer than that for sure. But let's talk numbers right here, man. Clearly, you see value in Merab just at dog money, but we're here for the props. We're here to really make some cash right here. Plus 175 TKO for Sean O'Malley. You got to think to yourself that there's literally only 2 plays right here. Plus 375 that decision, plus 175 that TKO for real juice right here. I have a feeling that the reason plus 175 TKO is that number is because everybody's hammering that, just thinking that's what it's got to be. He's going to knock him out. It's simple. It's the Sugar Show. Where do you stand?
I'm right in line, Derick. I'm actually right in line. I think that play right there, plus 175 TKO, makes a lot of sense. I do think the longer the fight goes, right, the more control is had by Merab the entire time, and the more I want to say the one of the big things that gets Sean O'Malley in trouble is the flash he has, right? Hunting those TKOs, you slip, you get a kick caught, you get taken down. That kind of thing can happen, build up over time. I see the 150 for Merab as that decision side. I see that being some juice for the decision plays. Knockout, if you're looking for a TKO, right? That's all day, Sugar Show, all day.
I don't want to get too ahead of myself right here, man, but are we just going to ignore plus 2,000 submission prop for Dvalishvili? I mean, if you take a look at his last 10, do you see any submissions? No, you absolutely don't right here. But this is something that does intrigue me because it's the last thing that you would expect. I feel like even from O'Malley, it's like the last thing you would expect is him to try to grapple you up, squeeze in a rear naked choke, whatever the case may be, right? Because he's so offensive oriented right there. But are we going to ignore it, or are we going to at least like take a look at it and be like, hold on, there might be something there?
I mean, I'm looking at it, Derick. I'm looking at it big, especially, right? Plus 2,000. You got a couple bucks. Throw some cash down on there because it's in the realm of possibility, right? If Sugar Show, something happens, he can't get off the back, he can't get off the fence, whatever the case is, Merab is going to be there hunting the finish the entire time. I mean, plus 2,000, it's a long shot, but we've seen crazier odds hit.
I want to know right here, man, because I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. I just need to know from your opinion right here. Here, as you can see, is all the plays, 4.5 rounds. Yeah, minus 105 for the under, minus 125 for the over. What is your official pick right here?
My official pick, Derick, I'm rolling with the minus 105 under. I think Sugar Show gets it done 3.
Okay, all right. I'm undecided here. So we're going to leave it to our key correspondent right here, AJ, with the overs and with the unders. But with that being said, folks, that is your championship breakdown right here. AJ, give the people your final play, and we'll keep it pushing.
Final play, I am rocking with that plus 175 TKO for the Sugar Show. I think it's going to be a hell of a night. The lights are on in Vegas. We got the Sphere going. That is ultimately, I mean, even their hair looks the same. This is going to be the Sugar Show all day.
Like I said, I'm rolling with Merab on the actual recorded picks right here, but my original pick was O'Malley. I just think that he's going to be a little bit too quick. He'll be able to land that shot right there, but the value that I do see in Merab is being able to grind it out, make it an ugly fight, and fight your way to a decision at plus 150 prop right there. But you take Merab as a pure underdog play at plus 115. There's more than enough value just to kind of hedge, not even hedge, just to full in hammer right there, but I still would throw some on the Sugar Show with Sean O'Malley. All right, AJ, from one championship fight to the next. This is a trilogy matchup right here. Alexa Grasso versus the Bullet, Valentina Shevchenko right here. And man, I mean, you got a really interesting just kind of series of events. Shevchenko, you get choked out, right? Not even a pure throat choke. You get choked in the jaw in the first fight. Second fight, controversy, robbery, Mike Bell. What are you doing, brother? What? Yeah, come on. 10-8, fifth round. All right. Anyways, this is the third fight right here. And we really need to break down how stylistically this is going to play out. Alexa Grasso, rightfully so, did open up as a minus 115 favorite, but it was basically pick 'em odds right here. We take a look at the current line, minus 140, plus 120 comeback for Shevchenko. Thoughts on the line?
Interesting, man. It's still not as much of a line move as the fight we were talking about previously, but to me, it tells me that Shevchenko still has a lot of respect in the eyes of the bettors out there, and rightfully so too, right? Not even arguably. Shevchenko has the tools to get the job done. We saw her put some work in, especially in the control aspect in their last fight. If this one comes down to the judges, who knows? But I do think Shevchenko has some new ammo, right? to not make a pun on the Bullet, but she has some new ammo in that belt.
Hot take. Alexa Grasso, in one of her pre-fight interviews, did say that Valentina Shevchenko's style is too tentative. It's too patient. She waits. She's too much of a counter striker. And this is a Mexican event. People are here to swing and bang, stand forward, and get the job done. Her final appeal on that statement was ultimately just saying, hey, it's going to be really hard to win fights with that kind of style. Now, AJ, we've seen Shevchenko win a ridiculous amount of fights. So it's kind of not true, right? But on the other hand, it is a good point, especially with the renewed scoring system that we have that favors damage above all else. I want to know what your thoughts are on Grasso's statement there.
I think it's a little bit of a stretch, Derek. I think it's a little overreaching because, like you said, we've seen Shevchenko not really change up her style, evolve it a little bit, evolve it in certain ways, tweak it, polish it. But I agree with Grasso, what she's saying, right? Shevchenko is much more of that stay firm Muay Thai style. We're going to sit there. I'm going to counter strike. I'm going to find these ways, and then I can shoot for a takedown, get the control going. I do still see that as a very valuable or very tactical way to fight, especially getting into the older ages. As much as you're going in saying, hey, man, we're going to go La Raza style. We're swinging and banging, right? 2 feet in the tire. That works 20% of the time. You're not always on the winning side of those fights, right? And you were more also on the winning side of the fights when you fight like Shevchenko. I'm interested to see if that's a little more of a goading action coming from the Grasso camp, because she's not necessarily one to just bite down on the mouthpiece, sit there regardless of the damage that's coming back at her. Grasso can do that, but she's a little more elusive, a little more tactical than that. So I think she's going to try to set up a trap in that kind of style of fight.
Man, it's all banter, right? It's all just kind of gamesmanship, getting in each other's head and whatnot. But I do think that there is something to that, because if Grasso could walk forward and she could pop out that jab and she could just land a little bit more of thudding shots, we're seeing one thing that is very apparent in these close fights, at least the ones that are going to decision here, is that it's really a matter of moments within the fight. It's micro moments within the fight that are causing whatever happened in 5 minutes, 30 seconds determine that entire 5 minutes right there. For an example, Grasso knocks down Shevchenko. Shevchenko back rolls, get back up. Oh, crazy knockdown. But was it really? You did knock her down. You got the knockdown, right? But was it a fight finishing sequence? And I didn't see it in any of the fights. I've not seen any real fight finishing sequences aside from the actual choke that she was able to get because of the curse of women's MMA, which is that head and arm toss that just gets them backfired, all the time. But that's neither here nor there. Really, grappling is going to be the X factor in this matchup, man. And I don't see it any other way. If Shevchenko cannot force the grappling on Alexa Grasso, because I don't think Grasso is going to try to really grapple too much, specifically with Shevchenko. If she cannot force her grappling, man, I just have a hard time seeing her win this fight based on how the two other fights have gone. Do you agree, or do you think that it's a little more complex than that?
No, I agree with you, Derek. The main path, right? The plan of attack for Shevchenko is going to be get this fight to where you can control it, whether that's on the cage, in the clinch, on the ground, whatever the case is. As long as you're not letting Alexa Grasso lead the dance, I think Shevchenko can have some success here.
All right, well, let's see if it comes to fruition. Now, when we talk about the actual numbers right here, again, we're going to take a look at that over score, and I want your opinion on that one right here. Over for the fight, again, 4.5 rounds, -170 for the over, +140 for the under. Went to decision in the last one. The one before that probably would have went to a decision if it weren't for that choke, but what's your thought? What's your final take on this one?
I like the over, Derek. That's what I'm rocking with. I do think this fight, whoever wins it will go to a decision. If there's a robbery, by all means, then I guess third time's a charm, whatever the case. But I do think this one, I'm taking the over 4.5. I like that -170 odd.
I really like that -170, and we'll come back to that one in a moment. So if we like the over right here, then the logical choice is clearly making a determination. Of course, we're both on Grasso at minus, what was the number that I gave? Like -130 or something like that? Let me pull it up. It was -140 for Alexa Grasso, right? Are you content with that number? Is that price fair for you to pay to throw in a couple different units on Alexa Grasso here?
It is, Derek. It is fair, and especially if Alexa Grasso is able to get this third win on Shevchenko, I don't think we're going to see her at anything close to these odds again, at least in the near future.
+175. We're not taking it for the decision prop?
Yeah, no, for sure. I thought you were talking mainly for the prop or for the money line, right? -140 makes sense to me, but all day long, folks. Like I said, I think this fight's going to decision. Obviously, I'm taking Grasso. I like that +175 all day.
And then arguments back in favor of Shevchenko. I'm not really seeing a TKO setup right here or a submission. If you're going to go with Shevchenko, you're going pure money line on a dog play. Again, she's currently listed at +120 for Shevchenko. I imagine it's probably going to creep a little bit further in favor of Grasso come fight night. So definitely get in early if you can get in. So the pick right here, Bloody Water Podcast consensus, and still Alexa Grasso. And you know it pains me to say that as a lifetime Bullet fan right here. So I'll just say that one. All right, AJ, moving on over. This is going to be an interesting fight because this has real stipulations and real stakes. But this is a 1 foot in, 1 foot out type fight for T-City, at least is from what it sounds like on the interviews, right? He says, hey, I was already trying to move up to lightweight. I guess this will be my last fight at featherweight, which doesn't really make sense to me. Like, what does this do for you then at this point? What does a win against Diego Lopes do if you already have fights you're eyeing for 155 pounds? But again, this could be the storybook matchup that we need for Diego Lopes to really ascend to be a true contender right here, to break into the top 5. Stylistically, man, you finally got two real legitimate jiu-jitsu guys right here. Two dudes who are nonstop attack and all that. But when it comes down to the striking, that's the battle. And that's the story I'm a little bit more curious to know who you think has an upper hand. T-City's had some sick boxing in the past. We've seen it before, especially once he's gotten a little bit more serious about his training. Wasn't training out the garage anymore. But Diego Lopes, he's got bricks in his hands. For whatever reason, when he hits you, it's not good. So who has the upper hand over here as an overall MMA package? Because some would say it's Lopes, but I think the hardcore is no. Brian Ortega is no slouch.
Absolutely, Derek. Brian Ortega's no slouch, and I don't want this comment to take away anything from T-City, but I do think Lopes has the advantage in the striking. I should say in the striking defense, right? I genuinely think this is a Lopes fighting an older version of himself, or vice versa, an Ortega fighting a younger version of himself. Arguably, Lopes has the speed. He has some bombs in his hands, but we know Brian Ortega is also down to game, right? He's down to fight. He's down to sit in there, but bloody you up, and he can. He has the skills to get it done. The only problem I see with Brian Ortega is he is very hittable, right? We've seen him lumped up before. We've seen him going, and it leans on a little bit of that pride that he has, that he is down to step in the pocket, sit there, swing and bang, but not necessarily always get his hands up to block the punches that are coming back or dip the head out of the way. Brian Ortega in the defense has some lacking ability or some faulty abilities in there, and that's why I think that Lopes has the advantage.
It almost seems like he needs to get hit a couple times to wake up, though. You know what I mean? And after he survives the storm, he's like, all right, I'm ready to go, and I'm willing to drag you to depths that you're not willing to go yourself. And that's where we have yet to see somebody take Diego Lopes there, because the man is nonstop offense, right? Submission attacks at all times, swings big, sometimes lands big, other times does not. But was it concerning at all to you to take this big of a step of this large of a step up in competition after decisioning Dan Ige on 3 hours notice? You know what I mean? Like, that was a real concerning for a lot of people.
Absolutely, Derek. I mean, especially when you phrase it like that, you look at it on paper, right? If you're like, oh, he fought Dan Ige, took him to decision, that's a hell of a card. Like, that's a hell of a fight. Like, Dan Ige is a killer. Yeah, 3 hours, didn't really have prep time. Like, there's a whole thing going. Yeah, nah, it definitely raises some eyebrows on how actually dangerous Diego Lopes is.
Be fair, man. Diego Lopes had 3 hours notice too, right? He had to weigh in 3 times. We probably saw a depleted version of what Diego Lopes truly is. But I just think when you're looking at Brian Ortega and you're looking at the losses, right? 3 losses: Yair Rodriguez, Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway. He avenged the Rodriguez loss in a dominant fashion, the way that it actually ended up. So no harm, no foul right there. But you look at the other ones, man. Volk and the Blessed Express, Max Holloway, man, you can't be mad at that, and you can't sit here and talk down on T-City, but it's just a matter of youth versus experience in this one, man, and I'm more interested to see, do we even see jiu-jitsu in this one, or do we see it just a straight kickboxing match?
I think we're going straight kickboxing match, Derek. We're over here, playground rules, you already know how it goes. I don't think we're seeing any jiu-jitsu.
Am I wrong to think, hold on, let me solo myself out to make it more dramatic. Am I wrong, folks, to think Diego Lopes submits Brian Ortega, T-City, the Triangle Master right here? Am I wrong, AJ?
Ooh, are you wrong, Derek? That's a bold claim. I'll say at least that. I'm not willing to say you're wrong, because Diego Lopes has the ability in him, the youth, the vigor, the strength, the technique as well. I don't want to discredit Brian Ortega on that aspect, though, man.
Yeah, man. From jiu-jitsu, how would you say, intellectual as myself, I'm just kidding, man. For a guy who knows a little bit of jiu-jitsu to some real guys who know some jiu-jitsu right here, I think it's possible, man. And I think that one of them might be willing to test the black belt out on the other. I'm just saying, something to think about. But let's get to the actual money here and then keep it pushing, man. The opening odds had Ortega plus money, plus 120, minus 150 comeback for Diego Lopes, which is pretty impressive if you look at it. Right now, it is swollen minus 185 for Lopes, plus 155 for T-City, man. So at the end of the day, minus 185 for Diego Lopes is a price that actually, AJ, I'm not willing to pay. Not willing to pay that from a pure money line perspective. I am interested to see how I can cash in some value on a couple of other plays right here. So before I talk about the props, what are your thoughts on that price? Is that a price that you are willing to pay? Because this is a consensus pick.
This is a consensus pick, Derek. I was literally, when I was thinking about it, my cap was 200, right? Minus 200 for Diego Lopes. Not a chance in the world I'm going at it. Minus 180? Man, you're right there. You make some eyebrows raise. I can see if it wasn't against Brian Ortega, I would take that cash. But right now, not really.
I mean, listen, man, if there's a juicy prop for us to hit, excluding my dart throw for the plus 550 submission prop that you folks are going to be thanking me about later if it hits, we're talking about plus 200 decision for Diego Lopes as potentially the play. And the only reason this play hits is because, if I'm not mistaken, I am not mistaken. It's a 3-round fight right here. I just think that Lopes is going to be stronger in the first round. And I think that if Ortega doesn't wake up quick, man, and this fight goes to a decision, I just think that Lopes is going to do more in that first round and potentially in that third round to kind of squeak things out. He's always on the offensive, always throwing up submissions and nonstop throwing haymakers. So Ortega's either going to have to catch him or mitigate that offense. And that's my play right there. What do you think?
I like it, Derek. I like it. I'm curious. I was thinking right now, right, with 4 knockouts in Diego Lopes's last 6 wins, are we putting any thought on that plus 325 TKO? The only way I see it happening personally is just damage upon damage upon damage, and the ref finally steps in to stop what's going on. I don't think we're seeing a clean, just straight up knockout right out of the Lopes camp. But do you put any investment in that plus 325?
Yeah, are you thinking a little bit more towards the Sadiq Yusuf style, right? Where you just catch him with something and just lay it on. Yeah, it could happen. Ortega's super hittable, right? But then again, jiu-jitsu guys have a really good ability to be able to shell up and use their guard to avoid some of that damage. I'm not saying that in a street fight type situation. I'm just talking about clinch you up. Let me stop getting cracked in the back of my head or something like that, right? So plus 325 TKO prop for Diego Lopes is something to look at. Plus 625 TKO prop for Brian Ortega is something to look at right here, man. But that's talking long shots here. And if I'm talking about putting my name on this one, I'm rolling with that plus 200 Diego Lopes play right here. Otherwise, I stay away from this one entirely. I think it's going to be a fun fight, but that is the consensus pick, Diego Lopes right there, AJ. So from one fight to another, Let's get it, man. Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovic right here. AJ, this is the fight right here that Dana circled on the card. I'm guaranteeing it right here because this is the biggest slobber knocker that you got since last week's fight with Peak versus Ash Moose, right? Now, if Ash Moose would have brought it a little bit more, maybe it'd be a little more reminiscent to this one. But Zellhuber is going to have to bring it in some capacity to keep Ribovic off of him. I'm curious to know, man. Ribovic coming off of that, let's take a look. That knockout on Terrence McKinney where he just kind of starched him. Big win over Kamwela Kirk, and then a loss to Loic Radzhabov right here, right? Ribovic, for some reason, seems like he's surging, like he's trending in a positive upward trajectory for whatever reason. I can't quite put my thumb on it. But Zellhuber is that trio. Him, Bahamondes, Manuel Torres, all these guys, right? It sucks that they're all putting them up against to fight each other, but I'm like, this is the golden trio of the new Mexican fighters right here. Not new Mexican, but the new Mexican, if you know what I'm saying. Shout out to you. Shout out to your hometown, brother. But talk to me about this one, man. What do you think about Ribovic, and what do you think about that momentum that I'm feeling right here?
Man, I'm with you, Derek. And I don't know if it's coming from the T-Rex Terrence McKinney knockout because that head kick was beautiful. But man, there's a lot of push, man. There's a lot of stuff going for him. And one of the things I like most about Ribovic, right? He's always putting the pressure on you. He's always going to be that wild man. He fulfills that itch that all of us hardcore fans are looking for with a dog that's down to step in there, put the pressure on you, and have a fun fight. And man, if you're looking for a fun fight or a fun fighting opponent, right? You got Daniel Zellhuber all day long. My big question for both of them is how's the ground game going to look, right? Like will either of them take each other down? I don't think so. And that's why I think Dana White has this one circled as the fight to watch because these boys are going to come in here and start headhunting.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing too much wrestling on the table right here. What I am seeing is Ribovic come up with the Trevor Peak style of approach, right? Get in your face, constantly walk forward, like nonstop, walk forward, walk you down, and then load up with the big shots. The problem is Zellhuber is going to be faster and he's going to be more precise. It's the same exact thing we saw in the Prado fight, where as long as he pumps that jab out and suffers with that very early pressure on, I think you're going to see accumulation of damage for Ribovic. And this is really the big question right here because I was thinking, well, where does this knockout land, man? Why can't he just knock him out? If he's going to be walking forward, Zellhuber is going to be the classic. Like, I just think of Zellhuber from a boxing perspective more than anything else, man, because he's very technical, not very flashy, bro. Doesn't pop off the page too much. It's just effective. And I think that the more that Ribovic walks forward, the more he's going to get touched up. But again, there is always the nuclear option, man. And if he lands with one of those big winging hooks that he throws, I think that he can get the job done too. So I was thinking, and again, we're going to allude to one of the bonus plays a little bit later. At first, I was thinking, what about that plus 550 Ribovic knockout right there, man? Why can't that one hit right there? If there's a opportunity for him to win, what opportunity are you seeing outside of the TKO?
None, Derek, none. That is the opportunity for him right there. Get in the inside, fire off a big looping right hand, catch Zellhuber while he's trying to kick or something like that. That is the play for if you're a Ribovic fan going into this one, man.
Now, here's the thing that we haven't talked about, and I'm curious to know what you think, man. This is once-in-a-lifetime event. This is a Noche UFC. This is partnering with Riyadh Season, right? Partnering with the Saudis and all that, right? There better not be no boring fights on this one. And you can guarantee that there's some discussions that are happening before. Like, yo, listen, it's in your best interest. Put it all out there. You know what I mean? So what do you think? Do you think that Zellhuber, like, in my opinion, if I'm him, I don't do anything fancy, man. I stick to my bread and butter and I just look for that tap, 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 boom, hit him with the big shot right there. But I don't overextend myself. Do you think we see some of that? Because this could be a real slobber knocker, man, if we do see both fighters come out of their element.
Oh, absolutely, Derek. If that's the case, right? If there's a little bit of extra pressure going on from the back, right? A little bit extra bonus money being thrown out there from Uncle Dana, I can see the fighters wanting to impress, right? This one's for pride. This one's for heritage and a once-in-a-lifetime event. So I can see where the push comes from. If you're Daniel Zellhuber, though, man, you have made your career, at least up to this point, as staying composed in the chaos, right? Like you said, hit him with that jam, then come across with a big one over the top. That's the Zellhuber way, especially, man. He's so good at maintaining that range, and with the height and reach advantage he has, it only makes sense for him to stay in his game, stay in his lane, and actually get this fight just done and get paid no matter what, instead of taking the risk, because we all seen how hard Ribovic can hit.
Yeah, I will say, man, Zell Huber, before entering the UFC, he was on a nice finish streak, man. This dude is a finisher. And just to kind of allude back to that plus 800 submission prop on his end, man, only way I see that coming to fruition is if he hurts Ribovic shoots in for a badly timed takedown from too far out and snatches up another one like he got that Anaconda on Christos Giagos, because this feels like a very similar fight to that same exact fight that we were talking about. It was pretty much same implication. So that's the consensus play right there, Zell Huber. And this is one that I am incredibly content with taking at, let me just confirm, dang, man, he opened up minus 175. He's sitting at 235. I'm still happy with that Zell Huber line. I'll take that Zell Huber line all day. I'm very confident on that. What do you think?
Very confident on this one, Derek. This is one of the ones that I already had going into my head before watching tape that Zell Huber is going to win. Watch the tape, reconfirmed what I'm already thinking. It makes a lot of sense to me.
All right, fair play. And to open us up, first bout of the main card, Ronaldo Rodriguez, the big mouth versus Ode Osbourne. Hey, man, I think that this is a pretty simple fight right here, but this is another matter of the new young gun that a lot of people are hyped on versus the established prospect right here, Ode Osbourne. It's just tough because if you look at Ode's career, 6 victories in his last 10. That's not terrible. 6-4, not a problem. Your losses, though, man, have been pretty much finishes, man. Tyson Nam knocked him out. Asu Almabayev submitted him. Jafel Fialio submitted him. And then what do we got? Manel Kopp, Brian Kelleher. It's all finishes. Like when he's losing, it's getting knocked out or getting submitted. But there's a higher track record of him getting submitted than getting knocked out, which is where I actually like Ronaldo Rodriguez in this one. Because though he got a submission win in his last one, man, that's not something that he's looking for. He got taken down a bunch. Probably not where he wants to be. I'm curious to see how this stand-up plays out. So, simple. AJ Osbourne, you know he's faster. We know that, right? He's faster than Rodriguez. I think that he might be able to land a little bit more flushly than Rodriguez early out, but I think Rodriguez is a slow burn, right? Builds up, catches his reads, and once he catches that pace, he just doesn't leave you alone for 15 minutes. Like for 15 hard minutes, you will fight every second of that fight. Can Osbourne hold him off? And if he does hold him off, how long will he last?
That's where this fight gets tricky, Derek, because in the stand-up game, right, I think this is one of the more winnable fights for Ode Osbourne. But if he's able to get, or if he gets taken down, if he can't get back up, if he can't avoid that distance closing, that slow burn you're talking about, this is a really hard fight for Ode, man. We've seen exactly talking like with all the submissions, we've seen Ode struggle in that aspect of the fight game. And it's only a matter of time till every single one of his opponents know that, and they don't just want to try and match speed for speed against Ode because he is that fast and hits that hard.
In my opinion, though, that's what I'm saying. I don't really see Rodriguez even wanting to take this to the fight voluntarily. I think he starts with just a pure stand-up approach, finds his reads, and just tries to land the big shots on him. It's hard because Rodriguez noticeably, like on tape, he's noticeably slower. He winds up noticeably more on his shot. So I think Osbourne is going to have the advantage in just a pure striking sense right there. But you're right. Once it gets ugly, I like Rodriguez much more than I like Osbourne in that one. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind right here, man, and I will never discredit somebody who has had this type of resume, but Asu Almabayev, Charles Johnson, Tyson Nam, CJ Vergara, Manel Kopp, Jerome Rivera, Brian Kelleher. Brother, I mean, it's not a bad resume of dudes to have fought, man. You're incredibly credentialed right here. He's training out in Vegas. Osbourne is given this matchup right here because I do think that this is the classic UFC tale of the tape of just saying, hey, listen, man, you want to keep that spot? You're going to have to fight the new guy who's looking to take your spot right here. So if we like it for Rodriguez, given that it is a consensus pick here in the flyweight division, we now need to just ask ourselves, man, what's the price tag that you're willing to pay? Since you mentioned this is a winnable fight for Osbourne, he opened up Rodriguez minus 165. You know where he's sitting right now, AJ? Minus 140. That line shrunk. All right, you got a good read, my friend. You got a good read. But is that price a price that you're willing to pay now that it's going down? Because that should give just a slight jolt of concern. What do you think?
Absolutely. It gives a slight jolt of concern, Derek. I do think this is one of the more stylistically winnable fights for Ode Osbourne going into this one. And I'd watch that line a little closely. I wouldn't put money on it right now, right then and there. I'd watch that line as it gets a little closer, see how things shift. Because if this gets down to like a pick 'em, right, minus 110 a piece, you feel a little more comfortable going into that. But at the same point, I wouldn't put the same amount of money if you're thinking like a minus 180 for Rodriguez right here. I think this is a pretty close fight. How it's going to go down, I'm looking at those props though, Derek. I mean, the decision, Tell me if I'm crazy, but I don't think we're seeing a decision right here, man. First fight of the main card. I think there's going to be some heat going for it, but the props, man, are kind of crazy. Plus 475 of the size of Rodriguez for the TKO, and then on the opposite, TKO plus 225 for Ode. Seems like the odds makers like a knockout for Ode.
Yeah, that is interesting. That is very, very interesting to think about right there, man. Because same decision prop right here. Of course, submission prop much more in favor of Rodriguez based off of what we just mentioned, all the Osborne submission losses. Yeah, that's an interesting play right there, man. He can hit him, bro. I mean, listen, bro, if there's one thing I believe in, it's Rodriguez's power, for sure. You know what I mean? The only thing that concerns me is, yeah, plus 225 TKO for Ode, man. Like, if he can catch him while he's winding up for the big shot, man. Rodriguez ate shots against Dennis Bondar, man. He ate a spinning elbow to the jaw and was like, yeah, more. And that's the type of guy that I love. But on the other hand, I'm like, bro, you can't, your chin will just auto shut you off after a while, bro. You know, you can't do that forever. Damn, I'm not going to second guess myself. Ronaldo Rodriguez is my pick here, AJ. And if you're asking me, hey, what's a viable prop to take right here? I'm going to go against the grain. Give me the plus 300. Here's the reason why. If Ode Osborne could kind of scrap up, clinch up a little bit, I think we can see a decision. Here's the reason why. If you look at that fight against Bondar, very end of the second round, that's when he got that choke in. If that's not how the fight played out, I was actually really confident that that fight was going to go to a decision right there. So finishing ability on both ends, give me the plus 300 Rodriguez decision prop if you're feeling juicy. Otherwise, minus 140. Go ahead and take the money line. I think that's fair. What do you think?
I think the money line's fair, Derek. I'm also going a little contradictory right here, man. I like that plus 375 submission. I do think that's something that can happen to Ode and has happened to Ode in the past. Seems like it's right in line for the Rodriguez pick right here. And plus 375, best odds besides the decision. I like this one for the finish.
All right, fair play. Folks, that was a main card breakdown that you got right there. So now that that has been accomplished, we do need to move on to the next section. Not the sleepers yet, but we do got a couple of bonus plays that I wanted to bring up on the table right here, AJ. We've talked about a couple of them. Let's get some thoughts. Again, your disclaimer for these bonus plays are these are not bonus locks right here. These are plays that we find intriguing. We had 4 of them for you last week, 3-1 on the bonus plays. So if you like them, run with them. First one, we already talked about this one. This could have been a lock right here, but Grasso versus Shevchenko over 4.5 rounds, minus 170. Smash, right?
Smash all day long.
Easy. All right. One that I thought was intriguing, my sleeper. Damn, I let the cat out the bag. It's all right. We'll get back to it. Chairez versus Josh Van, under 2.5 rounds at plus 160. Here's the thing, man. Van is a finisher for sure. Chairez is a finisher as well. I think that these two are going to go at it from the very jump, and I have a good feeling that somebody's either going to get choked out. If someone's going to get submitted, it's probably going to be Van. Someone's going to get knocked out. I think it's Chairez, under 2.5 at plus 160. What do you think?
I like this one, Derek. If it was under 1.5, it'd raise my eyebrows a little bit. I'd be like, not so much. But under 2.5 with these two kinds of finishers all day long at plus money, totally buy in all day.
That's it. Flyweight unders, baby. We back. Let's go. This is one that I thought was interesting because we haven't talked about it at all yet. But Rosas Jr. opening up the card against Orichi Lang, minus 1,000, folks. That is current line right now, minus 1,000. Just to repeat, this kid is like 19 years old. All right. Anyways. Minus 155 for the submission prop right here. We know that there's clearly like one established path to victory for Raul Rosas Jr. It's the submission, right? Like this dude's unchokeable. He's got the major chin. Nobody could choke him. But if he gets on your jaw, he does not need to get underneath the jaw. If he gets on your jaw, it's almost a wrap for sure. This is my version of taking an unplayable play at minus 130 and making it at least a little digestible, if you will. Minus 155, AJ. It is on you, my friend, to tell the people, the Bloody Water Podcast Army, is this a viable play?
It is absolutely, especially for this fight, man. If you're not going to parlay him into that one I was telling you before, this is the play to make for the Raul Rosas, right? I don't think we're going to see any value coming from the Rosas, especially if he wins this fight. Mm-hmm. But at minus 155, that's one of the more likely out or more reasonable odds we were seeing right here, man. I like it. I mean, Orichi Lang puts the fire on people. He's very aggressive, and I can see Raul Rosas jump in the back, getting the backpack on, snatching one up.
All right. If Orichi Lang gets it done, we're going to look super dumb, but it's all right, man. That's the play. All right. And then one more, man. Daniel Zellhuber, decision, plus 130 right here. To me, this is just lock and key right here, dude. Like, I think that the decision is the play. I think that Ribovic Might get knocked out if he just goes too crazy, but I think that he's got a good chin. He's going to walk forward. Zellhuber's going to jab him to death, and I see a plus 130 play right here. What do you think?
Yeah, Derek, we said it before, man. If Zellhuber can stay calm, cool, patient, and controlled, he wins this fight 8 times out of 10, especially by decision.
All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Those are your bonus plays. That's why you stick around for the Bloody Water podcast, because we gave you main card plays. We gave you props, the whole 9 overs. But now you got some bonus joints as well. So let's go ahead and get it rocking. All right, man. Now for the most anticipated segment of the program, the unknowns of today, but the stars of tomorrow. It's time to talk about some sleepers, baby. Let's get it.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
Again, folks, if you're new to the program, these are the unknowns of today, but the people that you're going to be clamoring about here tomorrow in the future, and you want to get in early on the train right there. So without any further ado, AJ, as you can see, the big screen is upon us. You got a sleeper for us. Now, these are all cheating sleepers because there's only 10 fights, so what are you going to do? But break it down, brother. What do you got?
Absolute cheat right here, folks. This one's just for fun, right? You're looking for 2 fighters who are going to go in there, talk about or fight the way we've been talking about, right? Stand in the middle. This one, pride is on the line. We got some serious heat right here for you, folks. Man, Manuel Torres, El Loco versus Ignacio Baja Mendez La Hula. Man, this one is going to be very fun. Like I said, striking on deck. We're going to see some explosive stuff out of these two, man. A lot of knockouts, a lot of submissions, folks. I don't really need to break too much down into this one. If you don't know where you've been, make sure you tune into this fight.
No, like no joke. Tune into this fight. Like, this not being on the main card blew my absolute mind right here. They should have made it a 6-fight main card just to add this fight onto the addition. So that's super fair right there. For mine, I already let the cat out the bag. But folks, you like Mexicans, you like boxing, you like some good fights, you like blood. Edgar Chairez versus Joshua Van right here, man. Flyweight unders, we're back, baby. We talked about it. I'm expecting a finish to take place in this fight. If you look at Chairez, look at the submissions. Beat Daniel Lacerda twice right there. I was at the fight for the no contest right there. Listen, this dude's a gamer. This dude's a super gamer. Lots of chokes, lots of submissions available. Josh Van, yeah, you lost. You got knocked out by the energy, but it happens. That's the energy. That's what he does, right? You look at all these other fights, man. Yeah, got a couple decisions, whatever, submissions, knockouts. This dude beats up the body. He walks you down, and he comes to attack. And that's what you're here to watch against in the flyweight division and just in general. Folks, listen, every fight on this card has more or less been curated to be a banger. So tune in, man. What do we do? Watch the whole card. 10 fights. It ain't even that many fights. So I watched the whole card. All right, anyways. Okay, folks. Now, on to our news and notes section. We're going to conclude the program because we're running out of time right here, but we have a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. And AJ, I think that you have a very good grasp of some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about here today. So we're going to showcase the new format. And let's jump into this first one right here, man. So the first thing that I want us to pay attention to is Joaquin Buckley praying to the MMA gods that he runs into DC Daniel Cormier to hash it out after the social media exchange. So there's some context that goes into this one, and we, of course, need to go ahead and bring up that context. So let's go ahead and let me see. Let's put some sound in here. Let's hear what Joaquin looking with the big water bottle.
Looking forward to running into Daniel Cormier during fight week because I know you guys do those fighter meetings.
Oh boy, I've been praying to the MMA guys that I run into DC. I'm the type of person, man. I'm a fan of Daniel Cormier and all the things that he done in his MMA career. You know, if you're talking about from Strike Force, you know, to coming into
respect. He's showing them respect right off the bat here, AJ. So let's note that before whatever, you know, if something's coming, let's hear it.
The UFC dominating and, you know, and end up winning, you know, 2 straps in the UFC because of how difficult that is and holding them simultaneously, right? At one time. I got to respect it. But at the end of the day, it's just like, you know, as fighters, you know, I believe that for me, the things that I'm trying to do, I feel like DC could have helped me with trying to go where I'm trying to go instead of.
And context, real quick, for those who aren't deciding to read this, don't forget when Joaquin Buckley won his fight and then called out Conor McGregor, right? And DC was like, dog, like, no, that's not going to happen, first. And number 2, why don't you call out somebody relevant in your division? Like, well, what are we talking about? But, AJ, I know this is going to be a little bit hard to read. It's easier for me to read it right here. Let me just give it to you just so that we can give context on all of this. So, you know, Joaquin says what he says. DC replies, calls him some explicits and all that. He said, hey, listen, you had a dumbass call out. You're getting talked about by 3 of the biggest voices in the game. Maybe listen, it was the worst call out in history. Don't let winning a few fights at 170 get you too excited, bruh. Don't mention Audrey. Don't be calling out no family. Don't be calling out none of that. AJ, 205 pounds, probably 295 pounds now for DC, if not above that. He's retired. He's out the game. But 170-pound new monster, does he have a chance against the retired DC?
Man, even though DC is retired, don't let the fluff and the smile fool you, man. This dude's a gamer. He's down to scrap. Joaquin Buck goes in to say, man, we can settle it. As martial artists, I don't think anybody wants that smoke from DC, man. He's a lovable guy, but he will beat you up all day long. And man, Buckley can fight, don't get me wrong, but you got 290 pounds of big belly laying on top of you. You will say uncle.
I think more than anything, man, we got to have respect to the OGs of the game, man. I come from a time where you do respect your OGs. Of course, you call out wrong when it's wrong and right when it's right. But at the end of the day, man, like have some respect for the people who paid the path. Let's not forget who was a double champ, DC, and he showed his respect. So you got to love that. All right, AJ, let's see what else that we got here on the docket here today. This was interesting. We never got to talk about this, but Matt Schnell at UFC Vegas 97, short notice. Cody Durden steps in and he does the thing. And one thing that we did see is that Matt Schnell took his gloves off. Here's the photo right here, and he dropped him in the middle of the cage. No interview, AJ. This is a dude who has like a Hall of Fame worthy fight against Suma Durji where he came back and there was a bloodbath. It was crazy. He killed a man damn near in the cage, right, for a couple of seconds at least. But yeah, no interview. He was emotional walking out. He has not confirmed the meaning of this gesture with a statement yet, but it's generally understood in fighting that leaving your gloves in the cage signals retirement. Here's my question to you, man. Unless there's official retirement, MMA people are incredibly fickle. MMA athletes, combat sports athletes. So generally speaking, they do come back. Even if they put it in writing, they still comes back. Give me we're betting make-believe $1 million. Does Matt Schnell come back or does he hang it up for good?
Matt Schnell comes back, Derek. Absolutely. I think this was more of a heat of the moment. You just lost a fight with a dude that you arguably should have beat, coming off of I think it was like a 3-day short notice fight that Cody Durden took. I forget the exact time frame, but either way, short notice. I definitely think this was more of the emotions of a Matt Schnell getting out here, and I do think we're going to see him in the octagon again.
Yeah, man, 4 days, short notice. He got beat up on the feet and then choked out. It was nice. You were the one that shot first, and you got choked out. That's the worst feeling. I felt it myself. All right. Next up, AJ, Rafael Fiziev. He's cleared for a UFC return after that torn ACL. He just reveals a list of the names. And I don't need to read this whole entire thing to you guys, but I thought it was interesting that he called out Beneil Dariush. He called out Dan Hooker. And let me see. Who else did he call out? I think that might be it right there. Dan Hooker. Oh, yeah, Mateus Gamrot. Yeah, he wants to fight him again. All right, that's it. That's all I got for you, man. Fiziev, he's been missing lightweight. I mean, nothing's happening with lightweight. Islam can't even fight until next year because he's hurt with his hand. The division is pretty much just kind of in a stalemate. And then Poirier somehow, some way is going to be fighting again, even though we all thought he was retired as well. So my question to you, man, is of those names, who do you like better? Gamrot rematch, Beneil Dariush, or Dan Hooker?
Ah, man, for Fiziev, I think the most exciting fight would be the Gamrot one again. I think the one that has the most benefit for him would be the Beneil Dariush fight. I think that could be a fucking slobber knocker, man. Beneil Dariush going in there just complete like the hard-headedness Beneil has versus Fiziev, throwing in some new styles, man. So he's real tricky in there. I don't get the Dan Hooker call out at all. I won't lie to you. I don't get me wrong. I love Dan Hooker. I just don't see how it provides any benefit to Rafael Fiziev. I like the Beneil fight over all of them.
You know, I like the Hooker fight over all of them because I don't think that Fiziev is looking at this from like a rankings perspective. I think he's saying like, I want a fun fight. I want a dude who's not trying to take me down the whole fight. What's up? Dan Hooker is over here in the corner after getting his face smashed in. Like, I love this shit. Let's go. You know, like you need more of that. So interesting. Something to think about. All right. To wrap us up here, man, Vanessa Demopoulos at UFC Vegas 97 again. She's appealing her loss to Jacqueline Amorim. This was my sleeper, folks. I give you some good stuff because there was some controversy here. But really, this is what it was, man. I'm going to be completely frank here as a jiu-jitsu guy myself. Amorim, she totally did cheat. But if you're not cheating, you're not trying. We've seen this in the UFC. This is not new news to any of you people. Like, if you don't try to grab the fence like 3 times, kick your opponent in the nuts a couple times, like at least you're not trying to win the fight. And all jokes aside, I only say that because the referees have done a pretty horrible job enforcing the majority of those rules. But at the end of the day, this is the shameless part about it, man. I'm a big fan of Amorim from a jiu-jitsu perspective. Demopoulos is awesome for her jiu-jitsu stuff too, but she denies the glove grabbing, and says she has a clear conscience. So on one hand, you can't self-snitch, right? You can't be like, yeah, I grabbed the gloves. What are you going to do about it? Because if she does appeal, you have that on record, probably not good, right? So, hey, no, I didn't do nothing. Huh? You can't prove it. I ain't do nothing. But AJ, let's pull up a video, and let's see Amarimi defend herself. Let's hear it.
And see, because it does look like you have your... Did you have a chance to look at the video and see? Because it does look like you have your fingers in your gloves. So I'm just curious if now that you've looked back, if you realize, oh, maybe I did.
Oh, you saw that, bro? Did you see that quick glance? She first started like, oh, yeah, and then give a quick look. I don't know who she's looking to, but a quick like, oh, shit, what should I say here? Do you see that? Hold on, play it back.
So I'm just curious if now that you've looked back, if you realize,
Oh,
maybe
look at
I
that.
did,
She's like,
or,
oh, shit. Okay,
or
hold on.
can you explain to us why it looks that way?
I just have opportunity to look on the big screen. From the angle that I look at, it look like I was holding over the gloves, like together, like this, not inside. But yeah, maybe I'll look at later. My corner said they look at it wasn't. I heard the commission was take a look and they say it was fine and nothing was holding. So for me, it's fine. I have a clear conscience, so I did the right thing, and yeah.
All right, that's all we need to hear right here, man. Hey, listen, she didn't even say like, no, I didn't do it. She says, I watched the video, didn't look like I did it. I don't know what to tell you. What do you think?
Hey, this is the game, man. You don't admit your faults, especially if they're not called out by the referee. I mean, if the Dagestanis can get away for it for however long they've been fighting in this one, go watch all the fights, man. You can see even Islam, even the great Khabib, they're reaching in the gloves, they're pulling people down. You double down. You don't admit your wrongs in MMA, just like the fight we saw last week. I forget the two fighters, but you get kicked in the nuts. You go back, instant shot first. You kick him in the nuts. Kind of the game we play, unfortunately.
It's hilarious, man, but it's real. It's real. And there are refs where legitimately you could grab the fence 3, 4, 5 times. Hey, you do that again, I'm going to give you another hard warning. How about you take a point? How about you do that? And that's when people get up in arms and they're like, oh my God, he took a point. It's too early. Anyways, yeah, I thought it was interesting. I thought that was a fun one to end on right there, folks. So we'll wrap it up with the news and notes. And listen, we made it to another one. Folks, history is on the line right here. Noche UFC 306, 2 championship fights. This is going to usher in a new generation of fighters, or the old guard is going to be resurging here. So it's going to be interesting. If you haven't dropped a like and subscribed yet, not sure what you're doing, but AJ, take us out of here as you always do.
Folks, Dana White said it best. It's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime night, and there's only one way to win the most money, and you're already right here, so we got to say thank you. We love you, folks. Make sure you tune in this week. It's going to be a really, really fun fight. Like Derick said, only 10 fights, so it's going to be a very interesting night. I'm excited to see what they actually do with the Sphere and the movies and everything going on, so make sure you don't miss it.
That's it for us. Catch us on the flip. Actually, folks, programming notes. There's no fights next week, so we're going to have a week off, and then we will return after that for UFC Paris. So enjoy the time off. Rewatch the Sphere card like 10 times. Whoever, it doesn't matter. All right, folks, that's it for us. Until next time, peace.